Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the back office. Yes, I'm back from my business trip, work trip, whatever you want to call it, in the USA doing all that car engineering. And I'm back in the UK to face my table of junk. You can see right here, I've been working on car stuff and I'm going to continue to be working on car stuff because of this. Yes, this is a Range Rover Vogue and it was doing some issues. They usually do. They're always full of issues because you can see they're all full of bloody gadgets. And I started digging into it to sort of figure out what the heck was going on. And it looks like there's issues with water ingress in some of the modules. So we're going to be doing a few videos on cleaning up these modules. I do apologise for not showing you the work that went into this because it's, to be honest, I don't like recording it because it's hassle for me to record and try to work at the same time. But just to show you though, look at all of this stuff. There's so much wires and junk I've found in here that's just caused so many problems. But I'll talk about those as we sort of work on something. So I'm going to bring these in and we're going to start going through them one by one. Go! Here we go. First off is the Range Rover DSP unit. And I tell you what, I'm really kind of annoyed because I left this office in such a bloody mess. So I haven't got any place to put my scope or any of that because the shelf where the scope was is now filled with other junk. Can't leave these shelves empty for very long. Anyway, so you can see it's already been opened. So this was actually in the field. So a lot of stuff was done, when I say in the field, not literally in the field, but in the out and about in the car itself. So I can't show you taking the lid off, but basically it was a bunch of screws. Now this previously had some sort of repair attempt. You can see that here. It's quite common for the power pins to dissolve, so I'll probably fix that pin up basically and maybe put an actual connector with a 2-wire for the power separately, because there was another mod and it's sort of fallen off, but they'd hooked on a lug onto the earth and they basically made the 12 volts and the ground separately out of the connector. So I'm going to have to sort that out myself. I'm just looking now in here. If you look very closely on your own one, maybe if you've got a tool, you could just very quickly run it along the pin headers and count them just to make sure you've got all of the pins, because I noticed it was previously missing some. They're absolutely full of gunk and water and crap. Land Rover has a really stupid design with this, well BMW at the time, where there's a leak in that area. So they know there's a general leak in that area, but all this stuff is mounted with the connectors pointing up. So water comes and sits in here and just basically ruins it. And they're not sealed. They're not weather sealed connectors. So it's bloody awful. So water's got in here. And these pin header ribbon cables are all gunky as well. Everything is gunky and dirty. And you can see a certain amount of corrosion on the board. It's got conformal coating, but even so, it's managed to get in there, and you'll get these very small. I'll zoom in for you. You can have a look. Right there, you see these sort of greeny bits, so they're going to have to be cleaned up. But realistically, I mean, if it's bad, proper bad, you might as well just go and find another unit. I think there was something like 18 revisions of these over the years, but they're pretty much all backward compatible, so look out for the right one. If you've got a Vogue model, it'll be a DSP. This one's called a DSP, purely because it's got some sort of graphics equalizer on it. Don't think it's anything more fancy than that. So I'm just working out how to get this out. You've got this, so you can see it's clipped in here. So it might be if you remove these clips from all these MOSFET-y type things, it'll come out. Just because I can see the capacitor down here has a bunch of crud on it. Just turning it over. I'm just having a quick look here on the back. Yeah, it definitely pushes out from that way, so you know, like as if you're pushing down to pop it out. But I don't think it's going to go out with those still in there. So I'm just going to try to lever them up. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's not too bad. Look, not too bad at all. That's coming up. But obviously don't push against those electrolytic capacitors with your thumb like I was doing. It's very sticky in here. It feels like somebody's actually put some bloody Vaseline on those connectors to sort of try to temper that water's ingress, but I'm not sure if it's kind of a diminishing return. I think it's probably held water in there more than get rid of it. There we go. So that's the first one. So I'm just going to go through and get all of those out, and then we'll try popping this and see what happens. So let's see how many though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just 10 of them. Well, maybe an extra 11. Last one. I can feel, it's wet. I can actually feel water on me. Bloody thing. So let's get this out. Now this car was exhibiting all manner of weird stuff. So that water ingress in all these connectors really went to town on it. So I couldn't get anything on the onboard diagnostics port. So even the onboard diagnostics wasn't talking to me. So that's when I knew something bad had happened. So if you can imagine, a lot of these things are connected by CAN bus, but these things like the radio should be on separate buses. So the fact that they're, causing problems elsewhere means that this moisture really does cause you a lot of issues if you've got it. I'm just gently levering these. There's a sort of a thermal pad that they're on. I can see a lot of crustiness there too. So that's that part now. So there does seem to be a standoff here. So the PCB doesn't look like it can come up and it can't go down. So the only thing is the PCB has to go that way. It looks like you have to slide it backwards to unlock it. Come on, I saw it move. I saw you move. I'm pushing on my left hand there, trying to just see what's locking that in. Is there any hidden screws? The bizarre thing, you're looking at this and you think, how can it slide with all of these bloody MOSFET things in there? See, those guys in there are preventing it sliding that way. I can't believe they would have soldered those in afterwards. But it is possible. I've batted this around a bit and actually it looks like it has been soldered in place. There's no way you can get this out because these MOSFETs really are in these channels and they won't slide out at all. They really won't. So this PCB looks like it definitely has been sort of installed and then those components must have been inserted and then soldered in. Unless I'm mad, going mad here. I really can't see a way, but you can see the way it's constructed. It has definitely been made to slide, but then when you push the parts, you can also see these MOSFETs hitting the end right there. Look in there. So I've got two options. Either I try to clean it from the top, which I would suggest if you were doing it at home would be your first port of call, to be honest, or which I might try now because we're making a video, is to cut those away and pull the board out from the back. Just have another check there. Let's put that aside for now then. Let's just check this one. This one's looking pretty clean again, but it is missing a pin in here. So I think what I'll do, let's try to service this board and I'm going to clean the bottom board and fit that. If it doesn't work, then we'll go and dismantle this even further. But let's start with the cleaning here. So assuming that you've got it this far, you're going to need some sort of cleaner, and I've got this flux clean, and I can certainly see some sort of dendritic action going on, around these electrolytics. It looks like it's trying to lift PCB tracks, but they're not quite scuzzy enough. So I'll just show you what that kind of looks like. If you're looking on your device here, you might see stuff like that where there's some funk going on, and that's what we're really going to try to get rid of today. Just that. So they're going to go with a bit of flux clean. Oh gosh, look, which has flooded the whole PCB, and that's fine. I think it's a lot better to have the flux cleaner on there than water. So I'm just going to pour that on, and with a little brush, if you can find one, I'm just going to locate a suitable little brush. In fact, I've got some paint brushes here. Anything works. If you've got some Poundland paint brushes like this, don't do what I do and just sort of get the handle coated in flux cleaner. Get in there and just brush that around, and if you're lucky you'll see it will just lift a lot of that scuzz, and underneath hopefully there's not really anything going on in terms of corrosion. Try that. Otherwise we're going to be doing that next level stuff where we've got to take that PCB, and we really kind of want to avoid that if we can, just because it's mechanically messing with this board. That's good. Now something I want to put more effort into. So those are, that's basic stuff. I'm looking at it now. A lot of that surface corrosion just seems to be dissolving off. And there's not really anything going on with the PCB. It was just all visual on this one. But these bits are the bit I'd like to sort of take care of, though. A bit of extra special time to be spent on that, because these are the interconnects then between the daughter board. Oh, they're cleaning up nicely though. Look, they've got that greenness going on, but it is coming off. Now if you've got some tissue, you can try this technique, works really well as well. Just sort of put some in there and then just use your brush to push that down. Not too much though, you don't want it to sort of get totally mauled because you'll have to pick it out with tweezers. Then just remove that and that'll start to lift a lot of the dirt. You see it ends up with the dirt on here. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Get some cleaner in there. If you've got one of these flux clean bottles, it tends to have a brush on the end. The brush is a bit aggressive though, so just be a little bit gentle when you're using the brush that's on it. Yeah, I think that's okay. Fine, so we can clean that up, no problem at all. That's just pretty stock. Go through there, clean everything, dry it all off, and if you've got some tissue, again, run it along the PCBs very gently, take it all off. I'm getting a weird effect here because I think some of the grease or WD-40 that was put on this has got inside, so clean that all up if you can too. And don't forget, before you put everything back together, to put those heatsink clamps back in. Yeah, that's looking good. Put that aside. Right. So the worrying thing is here. Because we saw the corrosion now on the other side, we're going to have to test these connectors out. But first things first, clean those as well. Get your flux clean and get something to sort of try to protect my wood here. Don't know what's wrong with this bloody thing, it just doesn't want to put flux out of this hole. Anyway, get in there. Soak that out. If you've got sort of WD-40, that should work as well. I mean, it'll probably stink a bit petrolly when you're done. Good, that greenness has cleaned off there. So the green, I think, is just a reaction with copper or tin or one of those chemicals that's in there, one of those compounds with moisture. I am suffering from massive jet lag, so do forgive my incoherent speech, a bit more incoherent than usual. So we're going to put voltmeter on and we're just going to go through now, and we want to check basically from terminal to terminal if we can. And this has conformal coating, so it has a sort of varnish. Conformal coating is a varnish to keep the moisture out. So if at first you don't get a signal, it doesn't mean it hasn't worked. It means you just might need to dig a little bit deeper. So what I'm going to do is put a probe in there, hold one end to there. So that's going through now. And you're not sure, I'm not sure, ever sure really which side this is going to translate to. So I'm going to test for both sides. Okay, good. That one's good. I'm going to the next one. Check that one. That one's good. Next one. Good. So you get the idea. Go through all of those. I'm just going to visually check them though, because I'll do the electrical test offline, but if you check them visually first, you might see if there's any ones you particularly suspect. But yeah, they all look pretty good. So I'm going to go through that offline, don't worry. And if they all check out, great. If they don't check out, then what you need to do is replace this. You can replace it by popping this. I'm not going to do it right now, but if you get your screwdrivers in, you can normally pop this bit and buy a new bit of ribbon cable and new connectors, and you can buy this on a roll basically, make them as long as you like, and just repair this. But be careful with the bit that's connected to the PCB, because you can't really do anything with that. So take this cap off carefully, then when you put your new one in, your new ribbon in, you clip the cap down and it will bite in, and then what you can do is with a blade very carefully just cut off the excess ribbon cable. You shouldn't have to do that though, because this is a pretty bad unit and that wasn't particularly bad on this. It's just going to clean those top sort of corrosion. That's so much flux clean comes out. Time to treat myself to a new tin of that. So any bit there's green, see if you can hit that. It's all looking pretty good, to be honest. While you're here, if you see any capacitors that are looking a bit suspect, so these electrolytics, if they're looking fat or chubby or generally unhappy, now might be a good time to modify it. So if you're using also certain vehicles, BMW cars are using these, as well as of course Range Rovers. So I think you'll get them in the M5, but you might get them in the 5 Series and things like that. So same process if you've got any of those cars. You can see of course there's the BMW logo on there. This side is absolutely fine, nothing wrong in that. They did a good job with the conformal coating. This is a Lear board if I recall. Let's just check those connectors. Now this is going to be slightly harder because of the angles involved and the fact it's dark, pitch dark, you won't be able to see what I'm up to. But yeah, I'm going to be basically pouring the flux cleaner in there. Now we know there's a damaged pin in here, which is going to be a big problem for us, because of course you're going to need spare parts and I don't have necessarily the spare parts required here. Oh, I thought there was a missing pin in here, like a broken pin, but I think, thank heavens, it's just, I don't think it's connected. How do I check that? So we have to look at the pin diagrams, but let me clean that up a bit more. Could be my lucky day, to be honest with you. That was going to be a nightmare if that was the case. Let's have a look in here. Just going to get my little brush. In fact, let's do that trick. We're going to put the tissue in, very gently poke it around. The firmer the brush, probably the better, if you've got one. Yep, got a bit of funk off there. Now I know you probably can't see what I'm up to, but I'm just looking in there, and I'm going to have to get my phone. I would like that phones, if they had like a dedicated torch button, because we seem to use that more than most. Well, it's difficult, but I'm going to say that there isn't a pin there, and I'm going to confirm that by going on the internet in a bit and checking that. So I'm hoping there's no pin there, or it's just been corroded. In fact, now is a very good time for me to double check, isn't it? Okay, no such luck. I can't. When I looked on the internet, it looks like that pin is bloody used, so I think I'm going to have to do a bit of digging. I've got some brushes here from Brian. He sent me these great brushes, so I'm going to be very ginger because there's the conformal coating on here. I don't want to ruin the board, but I need to see if that pin does anything. There's always the off chance you see that the pin might just not be used. And looking here, it is actually this pin that's kind of got a bit of extra action going on here. I don't know if somebody's already had a look, but you can see it's this pin here, the one that's right in the middle. It does kind of look like it's been dug away, and not by me. So I can try to clean off that crustiness. And I'm doing it very gingerly because you can see I'm using something that will damage the PCB easily if I'm not careful. So there's the pin, starting to get exposed now. I'm just trying to work my way around its edges just to see. Yeah, look, that's in isolation. So from this side it's looking pretty good, but from the other side it's hard to tell. I'm just going to turn it this angle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So far it's looking like it's not really connected to anything. Very tricky though, very tricky to see. got these tracks that are coming off here, but they're sort of dying here, these traces, so it might be something to do with those, it might not be anything to do with those. So what I can do, I can turn on the soldering iron. I can basically solder a probe onto this, and that way we can test it from the other side. We know it's not going to be connecting to anything on this side of the board though. So we do conveniently have our bit of wire that we were using earlier. Soldering iron is almost hot enough. Now I really need to sit down and have a quick old tidy of the back office and recalibrate myself, all these projects I'm doing recently. Got a bit of heat. It's thinking about it. So what are your options then? If you come across this and it's genuinely something you have to replace, you've got very few options. I'd think to just basically replace the whole connector. Now, if it's me, because I don't have a connector to replace this with, and I kind of want this done right away, it's quite relatively urgent, I'd probably remove the connector and try to literally make a new terminal. So let's hope it doesn't come to that today. It's a bit of extra work, but I'm pretty sure I could. Just poke basically a bit of wire through there and solder it up, make sure it's there, make your own terminal tutorial. In fact, look, this sort of wire might be quite good as a terminal. So we've got our test probe. No. Okay, so far we haven't. There we go. It is bloody connected, of course. It's going to this capacitor right here. Let's flip that over. Let's see that goes to here. No. Yes. No. Maybe. Yeah, it is, and it's then going up to here, and then that's going all the way around the houses to this guy here. So yeah, it is bloody connected. Right, well, I guess we're going to be making a pin today. Lucky you. Now let's assume though for a moment that you don't need to make the pin. If you just wanted to finish this project here and there because your one is okay, just go through, finish cleaning all of these, and just reassemble it all. Try it and you might get lucky. If you think that the coating isn't particularly good, you can use this. You can get this conformal coating, which is basically a silicone with a solvent base. Clean it all up, spray it all over, leave it for 24 hours, and it will put a layer of silicone over everything, then fit that. And it should be a bit more waterproof. So I hope that's been of some use to you. I've got future projects to do on this right now, but have a go. Let me know how you get on with this. If it doesn't work or you've got the pin problem, stay tuned for future videos and we'll probably have fixed this. As ever, thanks for watching.